Beneath a ceiling of cold, fading light, something vast and broken rests in silence. Steel once forged for power, now softened by rust, slowly dissolving into the deep. A monument to a mission that never returned. A question lying on the ocean floor. Dark water absorbs the shape of memory. Even fish drift past quietly, as if careful not to disturb the dead. But once, this hull cut through waves with pride. Uniforms crisp, flags raised high. The promise of strength echoed in engines and parades. A nation certain of its future. Decades later, only paper remains. Hands turn fragile pages stamped with secrecy, searching for answers hidden in ink and silence. Coordinates marked. A small red icon moving across a map, then gone. A sonar ping swallowed by the ocean. Ships searched the horizon. Warplanes scanned the empty gray. Wind bit the faces that refused to give up hope. But the sea stayed quiet. Across the world, another room listened. Magnetic tapes spinning, headphones trembling with a distant shock, a needle jumping like a heartbeat, then stillness again. Official corridors reacted in whispers, eyes narrowed over blurred photographs, plans drawn in smoke-filled rooms, steel giants built under artificial light, destined to return to a grave that should never have been found. Something has fallen, something is missing, something calls from the abyss.
We estimate the stress here at 20,000 psi. It's the critical point. That's assuming the hull remains intact during the ascent.
The truth begins to sink, long before steel touches the ocean floor. In quiet rooms, eyes study the weight of risk. One wrong move, and the Cold War breathes fire again. Yet failure is already waiting in the dark below. Above the world, a silver wing glides on thin air, watching nations from the edge of the sky. Far beneath it, a lone ship heads into silence. No flags, no glory, only purpose. Every movement is observed, every deception rehearsed. Even the ocean feels like an enemy. The vessel stops, a single point in a vast, indifferent sea. Below the deck, doors open to nothingness. Machinery groans, metal trembles. A hidden hand reaches down toward a grave that never wanted visitors. Cables strain under impossible weight, singing a slow, metallic warning. Numbers fall on screens, 1,000 feet, 5,000, 1,000. Pressure rising with every breathless meter. Faces glow in the darkness of a control room. Not from hope, but from fear of what they might find. Then, a pale outline emerges from the static. A ghost of steel, broken but unbowed. Lights reveal scars torn open by violence. The sea has not forgotten what happened here. Claws of iron open wide, hesitating between discovery and desecration. A final exhale of courage, and contact is made. For a moment, there is relief. But victory at this depth is never more than borrowed breath.
All right, team, good stabilization. Cycle the RCS thrusters and confirm telemetry lock.
Confirmed. Cycling now. When we look back at the cables now, the strategy is clear. What isn't clear is how many families were destroyed in the process.
At these depths, truth breaks apart. No single answer survives the pressure. Was it fire in the dark, a spark that turned into a flood, or steel against steel, two silent hunters colliding in the night? The ocean holds its secrets close. Its silence is not a confession, but a refusal. A wounded giant rises slowly, torn from the seafloor where it tried to disappear. Mud erupts like a ghost's defense, blinding the eyes that seek too much. Above, metal muscles strain. Cables groan like bones pushed beyond endurance. Digits climb a screen one breath at a time. 16,000 feet, 15,500. Every inch a negotiation with gravity and fate. Storm winds gather. The sea remembers what men forget. Some things are not meant to surface. Warning lights pulse. A heartbeat in panic, and then a sickening break, a fracture that feels like regret. 2/3 of a submarine, the part with answers, codes, and 92 untold stories, slips away back into the black, back into silence. back to where cries cannot echo. Faces in the control room stiffen, drained of triumph. A headset rests gently on a console as if mourning. Only the bow remains, a fragment of intention, a hollow prize. Inside it, twisted metal, mangled tubes, and 6 sailors who never saw daylight again. They are lifted with reverence. Flags replace uniforms, water replaces soil. No cheers, no victory. Only the quiet dignity of returning the lost to the sea. The depth gives nothing freely. Every truth retrieved is paid for in sorrow.
Bending steel as if it were paper.
2 nuclear-tipped torpedoes, and more grimly, the remains of 6 Soviet sailors.
We therefore commit this body to the deep, looking for the general resurrection in the last day, and the life of the world to come.
Honor descends quietly into the sea. A flag once feared, now folded over those who never returned home. Hands release what the ocean claimed. A body slips beneath the waves, saluted by those once called enemies. The anthem of a rival nation becomes a requiem. Some acts of respect are so silent they remain invisible for decades. The ship turns toward shore, not in triumph but in exhaustion. Secrets weigh heavier than steel. Then, noise. Headlines shouting what was never meant to be heard. Microphones chasing the truth that powerful hands still try to bury. A spokesman speaks without speaking. Diplomats accuse without knowing all. One binder closes with a thud that echoes like a sealed tomb. The story is filed away, but not finished. Time moves on. Metal ages. A legendary vessel, once built to lift ghosts, is now cut apart for scrap. Even giants are not spared from forgetting. Yet deep below, the K-129 still waits. Missile tubes empty, questions unanswered, twilight eternal. A face in a faded photo smiles, frozen before fate intervened. Cold shores remember patrols that never ended. Machines once trusted to protect now serve only memory. Blinking gauges, claustrophobic corridors, steel hearts beating under pressure. The ocean still hides its darkest conversations. A missile rising through surf, a destroyer framed in periscope glass. The cat-and-mouse games of nations that refuse to blink first. Lines drawn across the seafloor by a listening web of hydrophones finally let us hear. To this wreck. To these ghosts. Photographs spread out on a desk, grainy and grim, the first proof of a tragedy no one was allowed to see. Discovery in the deep is never gentle. It is the moment you learn how much the ocean chose to keep.
Bearing 090, mark.
Target identified. Enemy destroyer.
Weapon status, report.
The USS Halibut, seen here in rare archival footage, was instrumental in the covert operation to locate the Soviet...
These images, recovered by the Halibut, show the true extent of the damage. It was not a simple loss.
Even legends must pass through narrow places. Steel that crossed an ocean now threads carefully through concrete walls, watched by eyes that do not know the truth it carries. Shadows follow. A Soviet trawler, matching every turn, as if suspicion itself were a vessel. Inside, men hide their purpose behind laughter, cards, and borrowed identities. The camera keeps recording, the only witness allowed. Days blur into nights, and nights into more ocean. Sunrises counted by fatigue. Hope measured in inches of steel regained. Beauty flickers where none is expected. Glowing life drifting through darkness, unaware of the grief that surrounds it. Failures are studied. Metal is interrogated for what it cannot say. Hands in gloves handle artifacts that once promised war. Some knowledge is salvaged, some closure is earned. A tape changes hands, and the sea's secret becomes a shared sorrow. One face watches the burial, recognition trembling like a held breath. The price of silence finally revealed to those who waited. Flowers find their way to a monument of stone for sons who never came home. Documents decree that the story is over. But nothing about the ocean ever ends cleanly. Fog consumes the ship that stole from the deep, leaving questions with no direction home. A final glance, eyes holding the weight of ghosts. Papers, photos, lines on a map. the fragile evidence of a truth too heavy to lift completely. Below, a plate etched in Cyrillic settles into silt. What we could not recover, the sea keeps. Lights reflect on calm harbor water, a quiet after years of noise. Dawn smooths the waves again, the deep pretends to forget, but memory lingers in broken hulls and unanswered calls. A darkness within the wreck, a tomb unsealed yet unexplored. One stamp falls declassified, and silence answers loudly. 92 men remain below, on eternal patrol, where light can never follow.